Thank you very much, guys. Thank you for joining Digital Supply Chain Summit by Sunera Tech. We're glad that you have taken out a time and joined this particular webinar, which will make sure that we talk about a lot of challenges and how to overcome using the digital initiative for your organization. I understand we all are working from home and sometimes we are obviously going physically to our office. We are trying to catch up to the speed of the organizational growth and trying to implement various strategies around the organizational growth. And in this, taking out a time is obviously something which we are delighted for. Quickly, in our today's webinar, we have a panel and we have a speakers. I have Vishal Bhargava, who is joining from his home, obviously, and he works as a head of digital in Pidilite, and he has implemented various digital initiative in manufacturing, in supply channels, and various other places where Pidilite required some digital initiative. He'll talk about how he has taken up some of the classic digital implementation in his organization. I have managing director and co-founder of Sunera Technologies. He has built solution called or platform called eSeal, which helps you to take the supply chain on a digital platform. He has a vast experience of implementing digital in supply chain. He can talk about verticals like FMCG, CPG, electronic, durable products, and even automobile. He'll get you an understanding of how he has understood the challenges within the organization and how he spoke about the solution and took it into the implementation level to make a real return on investment and give the booty to the organization wherever we have implemented. As an agenda, we are going to talk about how digitization and why digitization is a buzzword today and everybody wants to go and be the part of this. We are going to also talk about uh, with the digitization how you can improve the visibility. That visibility can be from within your organization or within the partner's eyes or probably to your customer's eyes also. We'll also talk about ways of digitization and supply and how it will benefit your business, making sure that you save the quick bucks, making sure that you don't end up writing off some of the stocks where it is lies around in your warehouses and end up you making losses of it. We'll even talk about on the pains on the digitization and how it solves. We will talk about the advantages and how external vendors can make a use of the latest breed of digital supply chain softwares to have the collaboration of a data which can probably help you to do the just in time or probably even get you to the implementation of Kaizen and other manufacturing strategies. We will also talk about risk of not digitizing and how the world is going to change and how probably you will be left out in the rush of this. And finally, we'll also look up into how the softwares and supply chain softwares and digital platforms would look like in next half a decade to a decade, 5 years to 10 years. So this is what is an agenda, what we have to talk about. And I quickly hand over this platform to Sudhir, and Sudhir will take you to the some of the most essential part of the challenges in the industry. Over to you, Sudhir.
Yeah, thank you, Mahesh. We have an exciting session ahead. I've been working with a number of companies in helping them with digital solutions across supply chain. And we have gathered quite a few challenges that typically they report to us across the supply chain, both inbound production and outbound supply chain. And today I'm going to share a few of the challenges that might resonate with your industries. I see that the audience is from a variety of industries, right? From engineering to FMCG to consumer goods and durable companies as well. So if you allow me to broadly explain what we mean by supply chain, right from suppliers, they may be supplying raw material or spare parts for you. This could be multiple layers of suppliers. Your suppliers could be present in China and other countries, and they all send the goods to the production. Then you do your production across multiple factories, both in India and abroad. You have multiple production lines. And then you have a two-stage of storage, either adjacent warehouses or central warehouses in strategic places. Then you would send out to your regional depots, where from there you do your primary sales to your distributors and other B2B customers. Then they are sold to the retailers, lots, both modern trade and traditional. Then they are sold to the suppliers. Is that lack of backward traceability? Like, if I have a product that is faulty, if I want to know these materials or parts have come from which supplier, if you don't have a backward traceability, it would be difficult to map. Sometimes you have a batch number validation, but when you're talking about bringing back or looking at the product after sales, it'll be very, very difficult for you to trace it back to supplier. I've seen it most industries, they struggle with this. Also, the supplier warranty recoveries or warranty claims passing on to suppliers is another challenge that we find people often struggle with. Visibility into progress in terms of, let's say I've given out purchase orders to my suppliers. I wouldn't know whether they have started the work. I wouldn't know whether what is the stage of products. I've given an order for 3,000 pieces to be delivered in 30 days. So I would like to know what is the status of each day, how many products have gotten into WIP, how many have been finished, and how many have been dispatched. So lack of progress, lack of knowledge of progress also puts the entire supply chain in a tentative mode. A few of the customers, they use manual coordination. They keep calling up suppliers, they keep sending emails, but then you may not get the accurate status of work in progress. Then if you need to do supply rationalization, which is a continuous process, there are certain suppliers who are very good. They would want to promote them, you would want to give them more work. There are other suppliers who may not meet your expectations. They often send you faulty products or faulty systems. So you would want to rationalize them on a continuous basis. In specific to agri industry, contract farming is another challenge where they wouldn't know how many farmers have started the production, because it depends upon regional conditions. It depends upon where the rains have come. And they also would be finding it difficult to contact them or to run extension services for them. So these are typical challenges that we have seen customers would have with their suppliers. So when it comes to production, again, backward traceability. If there's a sales return, there's a warranty claim at the end. How do I know which raw materials were involved in making this product? Which production line was this made upon? What machines were involved in making this product? Who are the operators and quality control in charges? What are some of the quality parameters that certain machines have given out? For example, we work with a large fan manufacturing company. So they capture almost 4 different types of quality parameters against the product in the database for each and every unique product that goes out. Parameters like sound level, the voltage fluctuation readings, and stuff like that. So which would be important for backward traceability to correct your, improve your quality. If you don't have backward traceability, then it'll be very difficult for us to do root cause analysis and improve the quality. Forward traceability. Let's say we realize that a particular batch of products need to be recalled. There was a certain issue with the raw materials or the type of spare parts that have gone in. You need to recall. This has happened to Nestle a while ago. But then you don't know which of these products are lying in which warehouses, which depots, which distributors, which retailers. So recalling them or disposing them would be a big effort if you don't have a proper forward traceability. So you end up destroying everything, including the good ones. Then if you don't have serialization or barcodes, at least at carton level, you will not be able to implement FIFO or LIFO, GRN and stuff like that. in the warehouses. And then the production update, it is another one that we have seen. A lot of companies enter data into the ERP at the end of the day or the next day after the production session is completed. So sometimes you have seen certain people either deliberately or unintentionally enter different numbers into the ERP. Now that would cause either a production excess or certain times a production shortfall. So the people who are doing demand planning and supply planning would want to have exact accurate data of what is being produced in a given day. So if you don't have a proper data entry, that would be a challenge for you. And last but not the least, moving goods from production to the warehouses. We have seen in certain customers, we work with a large lubricant customer who make lubricant products. They used to take 3 hours for moving a truck out, which would include collecting the right products after they are made, counting them properly, loading them into the truck, then making an STN, then making a TP, then letting the truck move out of. So that certainly can be, speeded up. And if you do it with manual way, then you are allowing for identification issues, enumeration issues. Sometimes you may send out one particular SKU instead of another SKU, and dispatch delays. We have seen some of these things at the production flow. At the warehouse and depots, again, GRN is a long process. Sometimes we have seen trucks pile up, identifying the inbound products, counting them, then doing the process of GRN, entering into systems. There are delays as well here. Then warehouse optimization. We have seen a lot of customers off late have started warehouse optimization, especially after GST regime has begun. A lot of people have started taking large warehouses. They started putting in WMS, started putting in systems to space, optimize the space. Put away is an important aspect, especially you would want to do FIFO, or you would want to make sure that you would spend very less time in picking up products on ongoing basis. Pick list generation and picking guidance is another important thing. There's one FMCG company that we work with. They used to write off close to few crore rupees a quarter because they were not able to do accurate dispatches. So sending one SKU instead of another SKU and then not able to recall it back, or sending the most recent SKUs and leaving the older SKUs in the warehouse without knowledge. It's not deliberate. It's basically the sheer amount of complexity involved in FMCG business. So therefore, you would have stock expiries, and therefore you have write-off issues on a quarterly basis. Then manual handling of stock transfers from warehouse to a depot or from depot to a distributor sale. Again, here there is a bit of a struggle with identification, counting, making sure that the invoice or the stock transfer note is properly, laid out, and also reduce the dispatch delays. Returns is another one that we have seen in quite a few industries. Validation is such an important aspect, especially in the agri industry. We have seen where the goods that are sold in the current year are allowed to be returned, but anything that comes prior to that, they don't take. That's a contract that they have because they lose germination qualities. But then how do you validate? If you don't know which products you have sold in this year, but you kind of told them that, yes, I can take returns, there's no mechanism for returns validation. So that's another challenge we have seen with especially agri industry. When it comes to distributors, a lot of companies use DMS. DMS is good, at least gives you a secondary sale visibility, provided they are using it in real time. But then it may not get you an automatic visibility in terms of unless the distributor takes effort to do the GRN properly into the DMS and to do the sale properly into the DMS, you would not get an accurate view of the secondary sales. So those of you who don't use DMS, It's like absolutely blind spot where you keep calling, keep visiting them to find out what's happening with their sales, what are the stock levels, and so on and so forth. So monitoring stock, making sure that stock is replenished on time, or certain stock is not being sold. So making a mechanism to liquidate it, or even to bring it back or move it to some other distribution space is also an important aspect. And we found quite a few customers have challenges with this. Field sales, equipping the field sales, especially for territorial sales control. Quite a few times you have seen that there's a nice promotion that's being built or delivered, rolled out in a particular state. And therefore the product price is lesser with the promotion inclusive or scheme inclusive. Then the neighboring state people would be interested in that, and this distributor ends up selling in the next state. And it would become a nightmare for the sales team because there would be complaints from the other states saying, look, we are not able to push our sales. The other distributors are coming and selling here. Another aspect we have seen with some of our customers is that the bigger your brand is, the more popular your brand is, the more counterfeiting incidents you would have. So if your field sales is equipped with identifying products, scanning them or something, and checking whether they are counterfeited or not, then it would at least send an alert. It would become a difficult proposition for folks to indulge into counterfeiting. And we have seen several cases where we have to report out a number of retailers who are doing it as a chain together. Retailers, very few customers have control on retailers, but then there are few industries, especially the excise industry and a couple of other industries, where they would want the retailers also to use their system for tracking tertiary sales and also tracking sales records. Consumer would want to have an authentication verification. You need to be confident about the product you buy. So if you're not giving that through the product, then, and especially if they know that there are counterfeits in the market, or if they suspect that this is a product of older batch, then it would be very difficult for winning the confidence of consumer. These days, a lot of sales are happening online, and consumers are directly having a provision to claim warranties through online. So how do you enable online warranty for these online sales? How do you validate what they're sending is actually validated or actually allowed for warranty policy? Those are the challenges we are seeing with some customers now. Service is another big thing for durables, especially where you are providing a warranty. So how do you validate a warranty claim? How do you know when it was made? In the absence of invoice or in the absence of details of the product, it would be difficult for validating warranty claims. So you would typically go with customer is right kind of a concept, and then that would also allow for certain leakage of warranty dollars. Quite a few times, if you don't know those parts are supplied by which supplier, then your recovery claims would be difficult. It becomes very subjective discussion with your suppliers. Unlike if you have a proof that, okay, this part is supplied by you, this part has failed. So therefore, as part of our contract, I'm going to file this recovery on you and deduct this from your payables. Then it becomes an easy thing. So quite a few customers are having challenges with validating both warranty claims and supplier recovery claims. So I would kind of pause here, and I would invite Vishal, who's the head of digital for Pidilite. I'm sure they have similar challenges, and although it may be in few areas. So I would request him to give us his views about what do they think from a digital supply chain point of view, what are some of the challenges, how difficult it is or how easy it is to implement a digital solution, and what are some of the do's and don'ts as you go through implementing digital supply chain solutions for your companies.
Thanks, Sudhir. You almost cover all the pain areas. I can say 360 degrees area, and they are valid pain areas almost for every industry. Maybe some are ready with their primary, some are ready with tertiary, some are struggling at warehouse, some are struggling here and there. And this is the area which is taking us to the next level. So supply chain is again a part of transformation where almost each and every organization is going through. So mainly we called as a digital interventions, which is happening at different places, different organizations in different sense. And this journey almost everybody has started, and we are trying to reach to the next level. Some are on the level of 1 to 10 is maybe 8, some are 2, but everybody is progressing to achieve towards the 10. So a little bit I'll touch base on the different industry evolutions from 1 to 4, where most of us know that one has started in 90s, where the you can say the machine started working with a steam or a steam powered machines that was invented, and that was the automation era which is started. And then industry 2.0 had started, where electric motors, IC engines started adding a value to our automation, and then followed by industry 3.0, where robotics, PLCs, SCADAs came into the picture. And industry 4.0 is now where we are in. We want everything to be smart so that the things will start talking to us. More, if I'll relate it with the supply chain, we want that at each and every level, rather than we go and inquire the things, supply chain or things will start talking to me and giving me alerts at the different point. So that is where we are linking this industry 4.0 with the smart supply. So what happened? There is very thin difference between when we call about what is automation, what is digitization, or what is digital transformation. All these three things are very closely interlinked, and generally people are confused that we are in which stage, whether we are in an automation stage, we are digitization stage, or we are doing this digital transformation. Because all, if you see from this digitization or digital transformation with respect to supply chain, it was there few years back as well, but it was not intelligent. It was not giving you the real time information, or it was not very proactive to talk to you. So automation is something which is done one time and it's over. So that is the automation where we are reducing human intervention, we are improving the efficiency. So that is the part of the automation. Digitization is converting the information which is generating at different places, rather than it is a human dependent writing on certain piece of paper. It is converted into the digital form. That is digitalization. Now, digital transformation is combining both the things, and it's a continuous journey where, as Sudhir also mentioned during his talk, is you need to keep moving from one space to another space. Let's say if I'm working on warehouse, my bottleneck will shift to other place. Maybe if I'm working with a customer, and it might happen that my bottleneck has moved again back to manufacturing. So that is a continuous journey, and that is called as a digital transformation, where you take a steps to achieve a bigger goal. So for any project or any journey which you are starting in digital form or a digital transformation, let it be supply chain or any other thing, there are some myths and some facts based on my experience, that as soon as you start working or you talk about the digital transformation, people start thinking that now we require a big budget so that we can start that. But fact is that even with a small initiative with a larger goal, you can go slow and achieve much more in a longer duration. Second thing is that when you start the things, you interact with few stakeholders where they claim that they have knowledge in that area. I am not denying that, but fact is you try to take them along with you during your journey to achieve a bigger goal. So you need to have a team where all the stakeholders are joining you to achieve a larger goal. Second thing is, it's it's a major challenge. People used to think that my base level is not ready. So I need to take my legacy things to be up to date, and then we can transform the things. But fact is that digital journey will not wait for legacy issues to be resolved and then to start. It is based on whatsoever we have right now. We have to retrofit and will start. In a long term, it might happen that all the issues with respect to legacy IT is addressed during our journey. Sometimes people think that now we are starting a digital transformation and it will take good amount of time to for the outcome to be visible. But actually, if you take a right steps, if your approach is right, every 5 weeks you can show a small benefits, and over a period of time, these small is going to become a big benefits for you. So that means you are taking a baby steps and showing the benefits there. After digital transformation, I am done and I can wash my hand. So that is generally not the case when we are talking about the transformation. Let's say if I am trying to resolve my, trying to address a problem area in one part of the supply chain, it moves to another part and it's keep moving. That is how we improve. So digital transformation in any field is a continuous process where our journey will be continuous. Our goal is moving goal. We'll achieve that goal and move to the next goal. So these are some of the things taken which is there in the social media. And this actually, if you see the statements or if you see the opinion of the people, it's like whether we are going to preserve, enhance, increasing revenues or destroying the current processes. So summary of this slide is that if you talk more people, if you talk to work out on a digital transformation journey, the success rate is very less. And people are still confused in all the areas that which way they want to go or what they want to achieve. So success rate is definitely very less. I'll cover the reason that how can you improve this success rate and what are the steps you need to take in that. So this slide is quite interesting. When you talk to the leaders who are driving this digital transformation, especially in supply chain or maybe in other areas, they don't have visibility that how the industry will be look like in 3 years. 40% are worried about that. 45% is worried about that what I am doing, considering the new technologies which is in market. After 3 to 5 years, maybe this is obsolete and I need to reinvent the wheel or maybe start working on the different technologies. But one thing which is very prominent with 92% people, that we need this digital initiatives in our manufacturing or in our supply chain or our in business to keep us moving, to keep ahead of the competition. So these are some of the things, or maybe I'll say a high level overview to be a successful in digital transformation supply chain journey. So whenever you are starting your journey, you need to have a orientation with all stakeholders with a focused orientation and take them along to say that what is your goal and what you want to do. That is the first thing at the start. Even before you choose the technology, you choose the partner, you choose the goal, but you start spreading or taking their views, their inputs, or what is done in the past. That is very important to get people aligned according to. So second thing is taking a people in your team or taking a stakeholders on your side, because all with respect to the leadership team or with respect to the team who is working on a ground, they should be aligned and they should be for one goal and they are with you to achieve this goal. So second, selection of right people for your team is very important. Third is processes. So any digital intervention will have impact on the processes and policies because we are going to revamp the traditional way of working. So identify the processes in advance which is going to have that impact, or maybe that is going to change after digitization. It might be in positive or negative way, both the ways. Sometimes people think that this digital intervention has increased my workload initially, but over a period of time, they will realize that now this is perfect way to doing the thing. So once you started your journey, your objectives has to be well defined. What you want to achieve in a long term, what are your short term goals to achieve, so that your vision and roadmap is properly defined and your milestones are also defined during your journey. So your objective has to be properly defined. Now comes to be the structure part, that when you are going to do this, your structure, roles, responsibility, you have right people in the team, you selected the technology, you selected you have defined the objective, but you please define the structure as well, that who is responsible for what. Any transformation projects requires help from all 360-degree angles. So try to utilize as much as capabilities which is there in the organization. The last point is the insights which we get from the different inputs, which is getting through the supply chain. How can we massage that input and start getting intelligence insights out of that? Like we talked about in the supply chain, we should have visibility on the backward and forward ones, so that we can control both the things. So you should have this data which is massaged properly, and it will give certain value or certain intelligence to our users. Now, it is very important that you choose right technology for your goal. Based on my experience, I have seen that because you have not right path defined, or your bigger goal is not visible to you, or maybe you are not keen enough to evaluate certain technologies, it will slow down your speed, because after some time you realize that the technology which is built, which the things are built on top of that, is now not helping me to take to the next level. So identification of the technology is very important. Execution, now we have selected everything. So execution, very important point, that each step we are going to state the things, and we have achieved our small goals which is defined there. And finally, once we are about to achieve our goals, maybe a bigger goal or smaller goal, you start sharing the vision or outcome with the bigger people or audiences, so that you start taking their thoughts also, or their inputs in your journey. Generally, any transformation is derived in an agile manner. That means you have a different sprints. Don't plan anything where outcome is available or outcome is visible after 2 years or certain years. You have a larger goal, define sprints, define small goals. And as you see, this is only a diagram which is showing that generally 5 to 6 weeks, one sprint should over. And based on certain sprints, you start building up the blocks and you start getting benefits out of that. Make sure that for each sprint you have use case properly defined. You know that how this use case maturity or the final output is defined. Focused business cases will be part of this sprint, so that you can measure your performance. Also, that is aligned with the company goal. You should measure what we are doing, whether it is aligning with my bigger goal, or I am deviated somewhere, or I need to realign my next sprint. So that is a picture which is showing that how baby steps can be converted into a bigger picture over a period of months. So if you start with the sprints of 5 to 6 weeks, which is phase one, which comes out to be 0 to 6 months, with the small things which we are doing, and then phase 2 and phase 3 is going to be a bigger. So as you starting your journey, as you progress your journey, your sprint cycle is going to be large, and at the end of that, when you are trying to achieve or when you are near to achieve your goal, then you will realize that a lot of baby steps or sprints we have taken, now it started combining together to achieve a bigger goal. So that's it from my side. I'll hand it over back to Sudhir.
Sure. Thank you, Vishal. I mean, that's a very insightful discussion and suggestions about how you implement a digital supply chain solution from a large company as big as your company is. Thank you so much. So now that we have looked at the challenges, we have looked at one particular case study and the suggestions of how to go about implementing the digital solution. So let me talk about when you are implementing a digital supply chain solution, how does it work for you? How does it plug or how does it address some of your challenges? So we have one such solution called eSeal. I'll talk about it briefly in the end. But then this is compiled based on all the experiences that we have in implementing digital supply chain for companies like yours. So firstly, the backward traceability in a DSC solution would be accurate backward traceability. It basically, at any point of supply chain, you will be able to know where it has come from, which production line, which factory, which operator, which machine, what was the quality parameters, and all of it you would know at any point of the supply chain in the outbound side. And you can also pass on the warranty claims to suppliers. So this I'm talking about at a supplier end. Sitting in your office, you will be able to know who has supplied the materials and parts. You will also know, along with your purchase order, you'll also know various vendors, whether they are in China or in India, what is the status of their work in progress for the purchase order that I have given them. We work with one company in the US, it supplies parts for Sikorsky, which is a jet planes company. All the warplanes are made by Sikorsky. So the Sikorsky wanted to know status of various parts that come into their factory production line so that they can schedule making of either an helicopter or a fighter jet. So they would log into this digital supply chain system of ours and they would exactly know which part is coming in where. So that would help them in production planning better. The third one you will get on the supplier side with digital supply chain is the forward traceability. I mean, the supplier rationalization. This is not correct here. The supplier rationalization, which will tell you which suppliers have been supplying quality products, which suppliers have been delaying, which suppliers have said they would start, but they did not start the production. So on an ongoing basis, you would get a supplier scorecard so that you can do a proper rationalization and groom a good set of suppliers, no matter where the suppliers are. There is a customer that we work with. They are into multiple electrical appliance goods. They have suppliers in China and India. They have 116 suppliers. So they have been continuously rationalizing using our system to make sure that the good ones are promoted and encouraged, and the bad ones are weaned out. And specifically to agri industry, again, a digital supply chain solution will let you know when the farmers have sown the seeds and how do I run agriculture extension services for increasing the yield. So the digital supply chain solution has solutions for all of the issues that you would have with suppliers. Now let's look at production. Here again, from the outbound supply chain, you would know everything about where the product has come from, what is the information that's tagged against the product, the raw materials, which production line, which machine, etc. So every time you have an after sales return, you can actually come back and look at root cause analysis and improve your quality. Your product can be a durable product, such as an electrical appliance or a mobile phone, or your product could be a FMCG, product such as a food item. So you would still be able to trace back into the raw materials and into the machines that have made it, into the quality parameters that have been captured. So you'll get a complete view of how do I improve my quality and where are things failing for me. Similarly, quite a few times we have seen our customers, they would want to recall some of the products because they realize that that particular batch had a faulty raw material or that particular supplier had sent some faulty products, not aligning with the specifications. So digital supply chain solution would give you an exact, accurate, real-time view of where the products are. So in some warehouse has this many products of this batch. So in some depots have this many products. So you would get a complete report of where the products are, and you could just stop the sales and then you could recall them back. A digital supply chain solution would also do serialization during the production itself, and it also builds a hierarchy from primary to secondary, so that when these products move from production facility to warehouse, you could do a FIFO, LIFO, you could automate GRN and STN, you could avoid all the same errors, human errors that typically go into these operations. There's one particular customer who was smart enough to say, hey, can you also have my MRP printed on the primary packs, because my MRP keeps changing once in a while, and I don't want to depend upon a pre-printed MRP on my primary packs. So if you could dynamically print MRP, then I could save some money. So we have implemented in at least 5 factories for them, where they would print MRP online using our system. Another aspect of digital supply chain is that all the updates into ERP would be done by the digital supply chain in real time. So there is no data entry at all, right from your production to your primary point of sale to distributors at your depot. There is no data entry needed into ERP. The digital supply chain solution sitting on top of the ERP will take care of all the auto updates of ERP. And that's a core characteristic of any digital supply chain solution that you should look for. So what it means is you don't have data entry errors, whether they are deliberate or unintentional. You don't have data entry errors, and you always have an accurate integrity between what is your physical stock versus what is a ERP that's posted. And the STN, the stock transfer nodes, and the ERP updates, when the goods are going out from production to central warehouses, are also taken care by scanning and by auto updating of ERP. Even the TP is generated at a vehicle level automatically, which means that everything is done without a human intervention. It's automated and it's error-free. So let's move on to the warehouses and depots. One of the biggest challenges we have seen is the handling of GRN, the time it takes, the errors that it could have. This again will be addressed by the digital supply chain solution by automating the whole GRN. You could actually complete the GRN with one single scan, including posting of it into ERP. What does it do? It will avoid identification of SKUs. I don't need to go and identify how many SKUs or what type of come. Everything is there in the inbound GRN, and I don't need to count unless I suspect there is some leakages in the transit. Then any kind of exceptions in the GRN stage, right? Sometimes the products come with leakage conditions or damage conditions. Sometimes the cartons come opened, so I don't know what happened to the carton. So your DSC should be able to handle all such exceptions as well. Put away guidance, where to store your goods in the warehouse, how do you optimize your space, what are the most frequently moved goods, so therefore where they should be stored. Your DSC should be able to give you guidance on this as well. And the main thing is pick list generation. This is where we found a lot of customers complain about wrong dispatches, stock expiries, because they are not following FIFO and they are not able to identify accurately the products. Most people use color stickering process to identify which SKU is sitting where and which carton. And color stickering also is not 100% foolproof, even though some of the customers do it well. So a digital supply chain solution would avoid all that and make the pick list generation absolutely automated. So you could almost say that there would be zero wrong dispatches if you're following the pick list generation capability of your DSC, and you could also avoid all the stock expiries. If goods are moving out of warehouse, either for stock transfer or sale, again, there is no enumeration, there is no identification. You pick up the goods based on the pick list, you scan the cartons, you pick them up, you bring them to the front, then you finish your invoicing or stock transfer note, generate the TP and hand it over. All of it would happen in few minutes, and you don't need to have any manual interventions or paperwork at all. Returns, since every primary product and every carton and every shipper pack has an identifier, unique identifier. So when you are accepting returns, you could actually scan and validate whether was this sold by me, was this sold in the last few months, is this allowed for return, is it under the policy of returns? If not, then I would reject. If it is, then I would accept. So this gives you a absolute control on what to accept as a return and what not to accept as a return. In certain industries, this is a big cost-saving aspect. Let's move on to the distributors. At a distributor end again, a digital supply chain solution would typically sit on top of the DMS. If there's no DMS, it may serve as a DMS, which means that a distributor, when he receives the stock from shipped to him or her from the depot, they would simply do the GRN by scanning using the digital supply chain solution, and it would post a GRN entry into the DMS. So there is no need for again manual entry here. So when it posts the entry into DMS, the company will be able to see the secondary sales in real time. And as they sell using again digital supply chain solution, you will be able to see the stock levels as well as the sales returns. So you'll almost be monitoring the real-time stock levels. You would know which SKUs are selling, which SKUs are running short, and you can even do auto replenishment. In most customer situations that we have implemented, they have taken advantage of this to gain a complete secondary sales visibility and stock visibility at the distributor end. Field sales, a typical DSC solution would give them an app that they could carry in their pocket, in the mobile phone. Wherever they suspect that there is some cross-border sales or cross-border infiltration is happening, they can scan and accurately know to which distributor this was sold to and why is it lying here. There are cases with our customers where a particular product was sold to a distributor in Karnataka, but then it ended up in Coimbatore in Tamil Nadu, and then the salesperson had to check that and shun the retailer. This happens all over the place, these cross-border infiltrations. So a DSC solution would give the power to the salesperson to check and control this. Similarly, counterfeiting. A lot of people do a poor job of counterfeiting. Sometimes retailers are hand in glove with the counterfeiters in selling that and passing that off as an original. So wherever there's a complaint, whenever there's a complaint, again, the field sales should have an equipment to go there to check whether it is a genuine product sold by them to a particular distributor, or if the information is not available when scanned, it means that it is 100% counterfeited. So this is another important feature of DSC. There are very few companies who are able to implement a DSC at retailer end, and there are certain companies who have integrated the DSC to point of sale systems, but that's a possibility. I've seen in one case a fashion retailer where they have their own exclusive retail outlet stores, and they were able to integrate digital supply chain with their point of sale systems so that they can get a view of tertiary sales as well, not just secondary, but tertiary sales view as well. The same benefits you get at the retailer end in terms of stock level monitoring and auto replenishment. A consumer, quite a few customers, when they implement a digital supply chain solution, they also get an app which is in the Play Store for consumers to download, and they can scan and check the genuinity of the product by scanning a barcode or sending an SMS. They can this basically make sure that consumers are very confident about it. And consumer direct warranty. Okay, let me give an example of what we are doing for a particular company. This company is the largest online seller of headphones and Bluetooth headsets and Bluetooth speakers and so on and so forth. They have this biggest challenge of people claiming warranty for the products that are not covered under the warranty, or for the products that are not purchased from them. And they only sell through Amazon and Flipkart, the two large marketplaces. So they had this issue with warranty claims. we are implementing a digital supply chain solution for them, where a particular identifier is etched with laser on the product itself, so that even though the product cover, the primary pack is not available, when it is being returned for a warranty claim, that particular company can scan the digital code on it and validate whether it is eligible for warranty claim or not. If it is not, they reject it. And thereby they would be saving crores of rupees over a course of time. So this is again a upcoming phenomena where people buy goods online, but then the warranty validation, etc., is a challenge. So digital supply chain solution should ideally take care of it. Not but least, not last, but this is very important. The service part of it, where the warranty validation has to be done. Most customers that we work with, they use a Siebel CRM or any other CRM system. But then for validation purposes, a digital supply chain solution would give an API so that they can scan and then validate the warranty. And if it is eligible for warranty, then they process it. If it is not, they reject it. So this scan will also fetch them the entire e-pedigree details, right from the production supplier, production line, etc. All the details would fetch, which means that I'll be able to do supplier recovery claims with a proof. I can tell them that, look, this is the product that is being procured by, supplied by you because of this identifier on that particular product, and therefore I'm passing this claim back to you. So whenever I'm replacing parts in a durable situation, the parts also have an identifier in digital supply chain solution, so that that identifier can be bound to the finished good for future traceability. So this is in a nutshell what we have been doing with multiple customers across different industries, implementing our digital supply chain solution, which is called eSeal, which stands for electronic seal. This is a 10-year-old solution. This belongs to a company called Sumeratech. This has been implemented at a number of customer situations. And let me just give you a brief about our company and what else we do. We call ourselves as a next generation cloud-enabled digital innovation partner. 80% of what we do is all cloud-related solutions, digital-related solutions. We have a number of solutions that are owned by us. We are a 1,400 plus company. We are headquartered in the US with operations in India, Singapore, UAE, and Canada. We have a 14 plus years of track record in serving almost 250 plus customers. Some of the large clients give us a lot of source of inspiration for building solutions for them. And we have about 9 digital platforms, and eSeal being just one of them. So some of the representative clients across multiple industries that we've been working with, both for digital supply chain and other solutions that we provide to them, are these. A good number of Fortune 500 clients, and also companies, premium brands such as Pidilite, we just heard from, are also the companies that we serve and learn from. And here is just a quick recap of, quick view of all the customers that we have. More importantly, we are a highly quality conscious, give a lot of regard for information security. All the things that we do are on cloud. Both AWS, Azure, and Oracle are the clouds that we work with. I would end my presentation here, and then I would open up for questions. Feel free to ask questions across anything that we have talked in this webinar. And those of you who are interested to work with us, Mahesh, who is the coordinator of this webinar, will be more than glad to collect your details and get back to you with a meeting setup. Thank you so much, and over to you, Mahesh.
Meanwhile, thank you so much, Vishal. Thanks a lot for this session. Your insights and your information has been quite helpful for us and also for the audience. And I'm sure the world will realize the power of digital and implement the digitization. Thank you so much, Sudhir. Thanks a lot for your insights on and experience note. And we will definitely come back to we'll see how we can have one more round of a webinar probably next month, focusing on some of the verticals or focusing some of the key areas based on the audience interest. Good. So here I end. I conclude the session. And thanks a lot. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, audience. Thank you, Vinod. Thank you, Sudhir. Thank you, Vishal. Take care. God bless you.